Hey gang, Sam Ward here, and we are continuing our series called Biblical Connections as I am reading through the Bible in a year, and it's amazing to see the way the Bible connects both the Old and the New Testaments. And I want to take us to Proverbs 9. And as I was reading this past week, this became a frame for everything that I was reading. It was pretty amazing. Wisdom is seen as a person in the book of Proverbs, as a woman actually, a woman who God created, who helped with the creation of the world, and who calls out to people to come and listen to her. And it's amazing what she says in verse 4. She says, "Whoever is simple, let him turn in here. To him who lacks sense," she says, "come and eat of my bread, drink of the wine I have mixed." Isn't that interesting? Bread and wine. "The wine I have mixed, leave your simple ways and live and walk in the way of insight." And then 4 verses later, we hit a really famous verse that you've probably heard before. "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is insight." And like I said, as I was reading this, it became a frame for everything I was reading in the Old and then the New Testaments. This is what I mean. Check this out. So Proverbs seems to imply that there is a sense in which to be wise, to understand things, you first of all have to fear the Lord, right? The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And then it says there's this simple way, and there's this, in contrast to the way of insight. You could almost say that there is a way of living that is basically self-interest. It's all for me, and there's this basic equation to the world. It's like karma. Bad things equal bad outcomes. Right actions, right things equal right outcomes. But the kingdom of God is much more complex than that. I mean, the invitation is simple. The invitation of Jesus to be saved is simple, but the way of living and understanding is a little more complex. So check this out. To understand these Old Testament commands, you really have to dig in and have some wisdom and some discernment. It's hard. So for example, Deuteronomy 13 through 14 gives direction on how to discern if a prophet is legit. What do you do if a family member tries to lure you away from following the Lord? It's not easy. Should you tithe to the Lord? Yes or no? Should you take care of the priests? Yes or no? Another example hits us once we jump to the New Testament. And I was reading in Luke 13, Jesus says that people who suffer aren't any worse than religious people. Like, these people suffered. Are they worse? Did they sin? Jesus says, no. He says that the fig trees, which could be the nation of Israel or maybe believers in general, are given a lot of patience and love from God. But if they don't bear fruit, there's a consequence. They will be cut down. It also says that it's good to help people on the Sabbath. The kingdom of God, he says, grows over time, and it just spreads like wildfire, or maybe like yeast is a better example. To understand Jesus' words, you really have to sort of dig in, to take some time and listen with wisdom. Maybe you need to also reject, like the people in the New Testament, reject some of the religious traditions, the cultural assumptions that we make, and really listen to the words of Jesus and what he's saying to us. In other words, like I said, going back to Proverbs, the very beginning, maybe the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And in light of Jesus' death and his resurrection, we should meditate on these words as if they come from Jesus. "Come, eat of my bread and drink of the wine I have mixed. Leave your simple ways and live, and walk in the way